In this video, I'll be showing you how to teach your dog the place command. I find place to be a very useful skill for any dog to have. It's useful for dogs that are overexcited by guests, as well as dogs that are aggressive towards guests. It's useful for dogs getting used to being in a new situation, getting used to a household with new animals or new people in it, as well as just building impulse control and voluntary calmness. It's not a substitute for actual training, but it can help the dog to get more comfortable in new environments and understand that just because something is happening, they don't have to be a part of it. To teach this, all you need is a bed, a leash, some treats, and a dog. This dog is one of my personal dogs, so she already knows the place command. However, this bed, as well as this environment, are new to her, and I'm going to be using a different word. You can use whatever words you like, but I find that short words, 1 or 2 syllables, are easiest for most dogs and easiest for us to say. People will use bed, place. I have one person that says park it, which I think is adorable. I'm going to use bed with her. So we begin this by standing next to your dog, away from the bed. Having a leash is helpful so they don't wander off and you have a clear guide. You're just going to move, without saying anything, onto the bed. Good. As soon as she makes that motion towards the bed, as soon as she commits to walking onto it, and 2 legs followed by the back legs are on it, I'm going to mark that with a yes, and I'm going to reward. I'm not asking for a sit right now or a down. Those are useful tools and skills to work on separately from this, and they'll come into play later. But right now, all we want is to make it clear to her that the bed is a good place to be. Break. I am using my release word, break, here, as I want to make it clear to her that we will eventually add duration onto this, and that this in itself is the cue that she's being released from. And it'll make it clearer to her that we're working on a skill and not just doing mindless luring games like we usually do. Good girl. It helps to move with your dog onto the bed, as many dogs will be confused as to what you want, where they're supposed to go if you stay back here, or if you walk past it, they'll try to follow you. So in the beginning, just walk up to the bed and stop once you're both on it or next to it. Break. Yes, good girl. Once your dog seems comfortable with walking onto the bed and putting all 4 paws in the bed, you can begin to add a word onto it. So I'm going to say the word before I lead her onto the bed. You always want to say the new word before the old cue. Break. Bed. Good girl. You can reward for duration too. So if she stays sitting here, I'm going to keep rewarding her. Good. We want to make it clear that place isn't just go here and pop off, it's go here and stay here. You'll find after doing a few repetitions of this that your dog might become bored. That's okay. The whole point of this exercise is to be calm, is to be slow, and to be kind of boring. We want them to know that if they're going to their place, they're going to be hanging out here for a while, they should take a nap, they should chill out, because not much is going to go on. If your dog voluntarily lays down while you're working on this, praise them like crazy. That's the whole goal of this, is to build it down. It's not us asking for them to down in a bed. It's them just understanding that this is where you go to your bed and you relax. So if they lay down on their own because they're bored, make sure to reward that. That's the whole goal of this. Break. I always also make sure to stop before I say the word and before I send the dog onto the bed, because I don't want them to start anticipating, rushing ahead of me onto the bed. I want to be really clear that what I'm asking for is calm, slow, thoughtful work, and that it's a clear cue of what's telling you to go onto the bed, rather than just bouncing around on it looking for a treat. Bed. Good. If your dog already knows down, you can begin to ask for it once they get comfortable, but if they'll sit, that's fine too. I would prefer them laying down on their own because they're getting bored, because they've been doing a lot of duration. Good girl. And they just figure it's time to take a nap. I want that to be heavily rewarded. Break. Once your dog begins to become comfortable with the word, with going onto the bed, you can make it more challenging in a variety of ways. One way we can do this is by sending the dog onto the bed. So rather than walking with them and showing clear body language of what we want, we send them forward. Bed. Good girl. She has a lot of leash pressure work already on her, so she did that easily. If your dog isn't used to having a leash guide them where to go, that might be more difficult or sort of frustrating for them, so just help them by stepping forward. Maybe step closer to the bed or make a movement toward the bed, but don't go all the way towards it, and as soon as they make that commitment to moving forward, praise them. Break. The other way we can make this more challenging is by continuing to move even after we've sent them to the bed. This helps us to know that they fully understand what place means. It means go here, no matter what goes on around you, you are anchored to this spot. Bed. As you see, she has difficulty with this, even though she's done work with this. So I'm just going to stop and guide her back with a leash. Make your pressure clear. You're not yanking her up, you're not yanking her to the side, you're not yanking her forward. I'm just holding her back so she can't move forward anymore. And she made the decision on her own to back into the leash pressure and lay down, which is great. Good job, good girl. We'll do that a few more times because this is challenging for her. And you'll probably find it's challenging for your dog as well. Go slow, and you don't have to walk all the way past the bed. You can take a few steps past and help them out. Break. Good. Bed. Good girl. I helped her on that one too. I anticipated her moving forward, so I made sure from the start there wasn't enough leash for her to walk past. She did, however, think about it and made a good decision on her own. Good girl. Now that she's figured out what game we're playing, she started lying down automatically, which is great. She knows this. She knows that beds, when you've done it a few times, you should just start laying down and get ready to chill out. Break. Nope. Bed. Good. So this time I helped her again, but not as much, and then I waited to see how committed she was. So once you got to the point where your dog is comfortable moving onto the bed, they'll go to it away from you, you can start to work on duration. So one of the ways that will challenge them is moving around the bed with them in it. There's food here that's much more distracting to her than I am. Good girl. Some dogs may find this very challenging. If your dog gets up constantly, don't get mad at them, don't get frustrated, just repeat the exercise. Keep a shorter grip on the leash. Don't give them enough leash length to be able to get up and follow you. Just move back, good. We want to reward them heavily for the correct decisions, but we don't want them to get confused and frustrated by continuing to try wrong things that don't work out for them. However, because she doesn't understand this, well, she does, but because a new dog won't understand this, you don't want to give a big correction. They're not disobeying you because they're distracted or they don't want to pay attention. They just don't know what's going on. So I use pressure. I'm not going to pop her. I'm just going to make it so she doesn't even have enough space to make a big mistake. She can make a small mistake, and with these she only has the option to make that one. And the only thing that she can do to solve that is to move back, which is going to get her rewarded. So she did make a mistake, which is helpful in the learning process, but it was only one mistake, it wasn't frustrating, and it was easy to solve. Break. Place. Good. Good girl. See, I used place on accident, and she did it right away, because she knows that word. Good girl. This is a game I practice with new dogs for 5 or 10 minutes a day. It's just a really good exercise for learning calming skills, for learning impulse control, for learning to work in a not very exciting situation. And it's such a good skill, such a useful skill for all dogs to have. Also, place doesn't mean just that bed you teach it on. Place means really any object that's sort of a raised off the ground. I'll do place with multiple beds. That's a good extra challenge to add, is to call them to different beds and have them place in those beds. Have them heel the beds, have them off leash and call them to beds and release them. Just any way you can find to make it more challenging, more fun, more engaging, even though we do want to keep it sort of calm for this, but you can add some fun into it sometimes, just to make sure it stays solid and it stays engaging. Good girl. The whole point of place is for long duration work though. So once your dog understands that they should stay here, even with you moving around, even with a toy being tossed or food, you can begin to add long periods of time staying here. They're in a bed, they're just hanging out. They don't need to be wandering around all the time. They can spend 20 minutes to an hour just hanging out in their bed, taking a nap during the day. So if you're watching TV, if you're eating dinner, you don't want the dog to come bother you, you can practice this with them. You can use tethers with a leash tied up to the couch, something they can't pull over. As long as you know your dog isn't going to be stressed out by being held back, and you're watching them, this will allow you to be farther away without them being able to make a big mistake and coming all the way forward. You might still have to help them out and go back and show them what they're supposed to do, but they're not going to learn that they can just release themselves and go wander wherever they want. Break. Place. Good girl. With multiple dogs, this becomes more challenging, as you'll have some dogs wandering around and some in place that might be a little bit upset that they're the ones that have to stay calm. That's actually a really good distraction though. Just make sure you have a leash on them, make sure you reward heavily, make sure the other dogs aren't bothering them. I like my dogs to know that place is a safe spot, nobody can come into their space, nobody can come harass them. So I won't let other dogs, I won't let strangers come into place and try to interact with them. This is the spot where they can feel safe to relax because nobody is going to mess with them. If you let somebody come and harass your dog while they're in place, it's going to lose the meaning of being a calm spot, and they're not going to trust you anymore to let them stay here and just nap. They're going to think they have to watch and be on edge when they're laying here. You want them to know that if they're in their spot and they're just hanging out, you have their back, and you will take care of anything that is going on around them or that is going to come up to them. You can use an X-Pen for these situations. I find that very helpful with dogs that are new to place or are kind of nervous with things going on around them. An X-Pen keeps them safe from anybody else harassing them, or they learn to be comfortable with stuff going on around them. Good girl. Great. Good job. Good girl.